what could have been, and wasted potential. As I've said before on this channel, these are terms that are used all of the time when talking about comic book TV shows, movies, and even things in animation. And that's why on this channel I have been doing a series covering what could have been. The wasted potential of shows that were amazing, movie universes that were spectacular, and that could have transcended the world of comics. And today's topic is no different. In fact, it is something so major that even today, the voice actors for this series are still teasing another season. And that's why today we're going to be talking about Teen Titans Season 6, What Could Have Been. But before we get into anything, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. Alright, Teen Titans Season 6. We actually have a lot of knowledge about what this season was supposed to be and also what could have been. And that's because it did get pitched to the network. And unfortunately, which again, this is something that happens with a lot of superhero projects, especially when it comes to animation. Animation, a big part of their revenue is merchandise sales and toy sales. And unfortunately, this show was not pulling its weight when it comes to merchandise sales, but more specifically, toy sales. And the biggest reason for that wasn't because the toys weren't great or they weren't making accurate depictions of the characters in action figure form. It was actually because their main target audience was starting to age out. Now, that being said, just because they're aging out, that doesn't mean the series wasn't still popular. Although there was a dip from season 4 to season 5, it wasn't a significant enough dip to justify a cancellation based on just that. However, that being said, with the dip in ratings, as well as the non-existent profits from their toy and merchandise sales, were the biggest reasons why they said, hey, that's a great pitch for season 6. Instead, we're going to go with something else, and that is when we got Teen Titans Go, a show that was much more tailored to a very, very young audience. If you love the show, great, more power to you. I'm in the camp that I can't stand the show at all. Did try multiple episodes. I saw both of the movies, and even the movie in which they brought back the original show, it wasn't great. And that's because any cool moment we had was undercut by a silly joke. And it's not to say that silly jokes can't be had and still enjoy the show. Again, I rewatched the original Teen Titans show that did have some childhood humor, and as an adult, I will still laugh. It's just about balancing those things. That being said, getting into a little bit about what the season was going to be, obviously we know it did get left off from season 5 with a cliffhanger. And that cliffhanger was Terra is alive, but she has no memories. This was going to be something that was explored in season 6. However, it wasn't going to be the big main plot of the series. And actually, in that season, she was going to regain her memories and opt to not come back to the Titans. But even probably a bigger revelation was that she was going to turn Beast Boy down. She was not going to be with Beast Boy in the end. And that was going to take him down this pretty emotional journey for the season, and that was actually going to set up something else that was supposed to happen. Looking back, there were some small teases of this, however, it was nothing incredibly major, and that was a pairing between Beast Boy and Raven. Now, this wasn't going to happen early in the season. It was going to be very much so part of the latter half of the season, probably even coming together at the very end of the season, maybe in the finale, officially confirming their feelings for each other. It was going to be more of a journey they go on together, realizing their feelings, and then eventually coming together. It wasn't going to be something like where Starfire and Robin have had this kind of banter, flirtiness throughout the whole series that culminated in the movie and ended up with them kissing. I don't think that would have happened with Beast Boy and Raven. Again, nothing details about that specifically. However, it does say that they were going to explore their romantic relationship. Which, again, I don't mind this pairing at all. I kind of prefer it to Terra just because I think we did get more moments between Raven and Beast Boy because they're in the entire show. Whereas Terra isn't. I think she's in less than 12 episodes total. That being said, we have even more that was supposed to happen in season 6, and a big thing that I'm really disappointed in, specifically because he's one of my favorite DC characters, and that's Slade. Again, in this series, he is called Slade. He was not allowed to be called Deathstroke because of network rules and certain age ratings. Now, that being said, the season was going to get a bit darker. It was going to be a lot more gloomy, and they were going to tackle more adult storylines. So perhaps Slade would have adopted the Deathstroke mantra and that mantle, that official name, and be called that, which would have been really cool. But seeing where he left off from the end of season 4 when he actually helps the Titans, but he manages to get his soul back, we know he's still out there. And like it or not, he has a vendetta against the Titans, which rightfully so. They took a lot away from him. They were the reason that he died, especially them and Terra. And again, there aren't specific details as to what his storyline was going to be. The only things that they do list is that, number one, his face was finally going to be revealed, which, if you remember in the show, that was a big plot point, and the only time you ever actually saw his face was in season 1 when Thunder and Lightning were there, and Robin was fighting against that older man. That is Slade Wilson. So technically, you do get a face reveal. However, it's not in the traditional sense of him taking off the mask. He was kind of in a disguise. So this would have been a pretty big moment and a full circle moment of Robin realizing, hey, that was that old man that I met all the way long ago. And just uncovering more about Slade would have been really, really cool. And some more about the plot points was it wasn't going to be Slade alone as the big bad villain. Blackfire was going to be a big bad villain, and it says that she was actually going to team up with Slade. And those are two very formidable foes for the Titans to face off against, which is absolutely amazing. Again, I always love it when a superhero team or superheroes are pushed up against it and they have their backs up against the wall, and these two characters definitely have the ability to do that. Now, as far as what their plan was going to be, there's nothing official. However, I could definitely see a scenario in which Blackfire and Slade maybe take down Terra, and maybe that's why she's not in it anymore. Maybe she might not even get to the point of telling Beast Boy no, and she does just get killed shortly after her memories come back. And maybe that is how we get that set stage for a much darker season. And as we knew from season 5, there are way more members of the Titans. Obviously not the core 5 living in the tower, but there are a bunch with communicators. So maybe Slade uses that as a way to track them down, and instead of capturing them like the Brotherhood of Evil did, maybe he just starts offing them. And again, one of the characters that was supposed to also appear in this season much more was Jericho. That's Slade's son. So could that play a part into it? Could they have done a Judas contract, similar storyline, where instead of Terra being someone who betrays them in favor of Slade, maybe it's Jericho? Or maybe it's a scenario in which they did it in how the live-action Titans series did it, and Jericho is actually on the side of the Titans, having to go against his father. Some of the other members that were also supposed to join that main 5 and potentially live in the tower were Kid Flash and Wonder Girl. Now, with Kid Flash, we had him in season 4, and I believe a little bit in season 5. He shows up with Jinx. Now, does that mean Jinx would have joined the Titans? I don't think so. I know she ended up helping them in the end, but there's a big difference between helping them out and fully joining them as a fellow hero. Now, again, if she would have joined them, that would have been really cool, and I feel like they would have been really overpowered. Her power is absolutely insane. She just has the ability of luck, essentially. And that's why when she showed up to that final battle, they started winning pretty handedly. That being said, Kid Flash, Wally West, is one of my favorite characters as well. Seeing his dynamic with Robin in this universe would have been really cool, because we barely got any interaction with them at all. I think maybe 1 or 2 words total. And given how close they were in Young Justice and how much I enjoyed their dynamic there, it would have been cool to see it portrayed in this universe. And again, some of the other things are a little bit more minor, like having Wonder Girl in it. Could it have been cool? Yes. Is it something we necessarily needed? No, not really. But again, adding another character to the mix, adding more of a dynamic group would have been really cool. Now that being said, that's not the end of their pitch. They did have even more, and that brings us to Slade Wilson does eventually get defeated by the end of the season by White Raven, who officially becomes White Raven, and Nightwing. Yes, Nightwing. Which means not only were the two of them going to be the main ones taking down Slade Wilson, Robin was going to transition to Nightwing, which, for anyone out there who is still trying to argue that it is Tim Drake, clearly never watched the series, because not only is Haley's Circus mentioned and the Flying Graysons mentioned, they literally go to the future in one of the episodes, Starfire does, and she sees Robin in the future. Except he's not Robin. You know who he is? Nightwing. Who's the only character who becomes Nightwing? Oh yeah, it's Dick Grayson. Or in some storylines, I know Damian Wayne when Dick Grayson takes up the mantle of Batman. But again, that's very brief, doesn't last long, and Tim Drake never becomes Nightwing. So, it is Dick Grayson. But that being said, that would have been such a cool thing to see, and see his journey from being Robin, being the leader of the Titans, to now becoming Nightwing. That would have been just so amazing. Again, I have a Nightwing shirt on. He's my favorite DC character, so I'm going to obviously be a little bit more biased towards that storyline, and really wish that storyline came to fruition. And as we know from the end of the Trouble in Tokyo movie, we would have explored more of Starfire and Robin, because at the end of that movie, they are a confirmed couple. They kiss at the end. They finally acknowledge their feelings for each other. Starfire did long ago, I mean all the way back in season 1 and 2, when Robin's having to go on a date with Killer Moth's daughter. She's absolutely beside herself, so she makes it very clear very early on that she's into Robin. Robin, however, is in the mentality that Batman put him into, which is, hey, the mission comes first, no vacations, no time for any of that, the mission, the mission, the mission. And that's a big plot point of Trouble in Tokyo, him realizing that, hey, taking it a step back, taking a bit of a vacation and enjoying life is good too. So I think this season, possibly exploring that part of Robin, and that being how he transitions to Nightwing and further evolves their relationship, would have been really, really cool to see. But that is pretty much all we know about the pitch and what would have been in season 6. What do you guys think? Are there any storylines you wish happened in the potential season 6? Would you have enjoyed and watched this 6th season, especially over Teen Titans Go? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you guys are down there, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye.